After a month into the season, are we overreacting or is it reality with the Dallas Stars? A Logan Stankoven and Mavrik Bourque update and the Ty Dellandrea dilemma. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105.3 The Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Be sure to subscribe, never miss an episode. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, and thank you so much, as always, for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Happy Wednesday, November the 8th, an off day for the Dallas Stars, who are coming off back-to-back losses for the first time this season. On Monday night, fell 3-2 to the Boston Bruins, are now 7-3-2 on the year, or 7-3-1, 15 points, which is now second in the NHL Central Division, because a lot of hockey in action last night as the Avalanche took down the Devils and they jumped ahead of the Stars. Those two teams will meet here in the month of November as well. Stars have a pretty friendly schedule going forward. I think some winnable games. They play some good clubs too, like New York again and Vegas and Colorado, but they also play some teams that they've already beat and have some winnable games, of course, on Thursday, taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets as they head back out on the road. And hopefully Matt Duchene and Radek Faksa will be ready. We'll get into all that tomorrow as well. But I thought it would be fun to start by doing some overreactions, maybe reality, and play a little bit of a game. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Overreaction or reality? I have three statements for you, Stars fans. Please play along in your head as you're driving along, jogging, working out, whatever it is that you do while you listen to this podcast and I fill your ear holes with words and noises. Three statements. Comment below as well if you want to play along. First one I have for you. Is this an overreaction or reality? The Dallas Stars will not be within the top 10 of goals per game. They were 7th last year in the NHL, 3.43 goals per game. Right now, they are 22nd at 2.82. I believe this is an overreaction. The Stars have still not found their rhythm offensively, dealing with a few injuries now to really key center icemen in Duchene and Faksa. And of course, Faksa does not provide a ton of offense, but I still think he's valuable on the fourth line for what he does in terms of penalty killing and winning draws. And I think he provides an element to the fourth line with Smith or Dellandrea or whoever the wingers are that allows them to flourish, because he does play a more defensive game. And I think he does provide a lot of value. Of course, not having Duchene is tough. He's been off to actually a pretty decent start, had a 5-game point streak that, of course, ended in Vancouver, but 5 points already on his young season. The power play has been absolutely atrocious so far. I think that's going to get back at some point, hopefully, but I would say that would be an overreaction. This offense has too much firepower, way too many good options, and some guys are getting off to slow starts, of course. That's just the reality of it so far. That is a reality. And as we take a more 200-foot view, bird's eye view of the Dallas Stars, look, we do not want them to peak at this time They're still in the thick of things in the Western Conference. It's not like they're getting steamrolled. This is not an Edmonton Oilers start. It has not looked pretty by any means in a lot of games. I completely understand that, but there's been spurts. They've been sporadic and have some good things happening. It just hasn't been put together yet. But once again, who cares? It's November. We're not even in Thanksgiving. This team has not even been close to peaking yet, which is a good sign. You don't want to come out of the gates always firing in all cylinders. And they've been dealing with bumps and bruises all the way back to training camp. They've been fully healthy for a handful of games now, half a dozen. So there's going to be some kinks that they're working through, and the execution hasn't always been there. I think this team will be comfortably above 3 goals per game and should be comfortably within the top 10 of goals per game. We haven't seen it yet. Hopefully it comes. Guys like Robertson have not been sticking it in the back of the net like we've been used to seeing. And even Heiskanen's off to a slower start. 7 points in 11 games, which is on pace for just over 50. You would think he's probably going to be somewhere in the realm of 70 once the power play gets going, if it does. And that leads me into my next overreaction or reality statement. The PK will allow more goals than the power play scores at the end of this month in November. Right now, the Stars have allowed 3 power play goals, and they've scored 3 power play goals. And as I have mentioned earlier, over half of their power play goals have come in one game against the Ducks. Overreaction or reality, the PK will allow more goals than the power play scores at the end of the month. I'm going Luku here, and I'm going the PK will allow more goals than the power play has, because the power play has not looked good. They're not winning faceoffs. They were 0 for 4 against the Bruins on Monday night on the power play in the dot. They're not starting with the puck. Their entries have been bad, and they're just not getting the looks they want. Maybe film is out on them that teams are able to just shut them down. There's been some chances and spurts too where it's okay, it looked good, they just didn't score. And at the same time, they have not ran into a bad goaltender yet. They've played some really, really great netminders, and they've been stoned their last 2 times out. That's just case in point. Swayman makes 35, Demko's 27 and perfect, and have made some really excellent stops in their last 2. That's part of the equation. I'm going to say reality for this one. And the PK's been phenomenal too. This is not even an indictment on the PK, because it's been one of the best in the NHL, but they're going to be playing some very good power play units. And I don't know if the power play is going to be figured out quite yet in the month of November. And for the life of me, I hope I'm wrong on that. Overreaction or reality, the last statement, because someone brought it up after the game on Monday night to me. Is Wyatt Johnston a top 5 player on the Stars? And I got to thinking, and this is what I say, and I'm ranking here the top 5 players in this season. And I would say yes. I would say absolutely he's been a top 5 player. Arguably, he's been the most consistent of any of the forwards, maybe besides Rope, since he returned. He's already got 8 points so far in his first 11 games, 4 goals, 4 assists. And if I had to put a ranking together, here's how I do it for the most important, or I should just say the best players so far in this 2023-24 season, a month in, of course. This is not taking everything into perspective. 1, Jake Ottinger. No argument there. He's the only reason the Stars are probably second in the Central Division. It could be worse without Otter in the pipes. 2 would be Rope Hintz, of course, leads the Stars in points, 11 points in his first 10 games. The top line's just been incredible, and he's the driver of that top line. 3, I'm going with Miro. I know he's had a bit slower of a start offensively, still the most important defenseman. He's been playing very, very well, and he has a lot of weight on his shoulders because he's pretty much carrying a lot of the defense. He has to play a ton of minutes, and without him, this team would be way, way worse off. Number 4, I would put Wyatt Johnston. I think he is a top 5 player. This is reality. Wyatt Johnston has become a top 5 player on the Dallas Stars. He's been very underappreciated, I feel like. And the way he's buzzing around, especially on Monday night in that third period, I think he's one of the 3 guys on the Dallas Stars that can create offense and chances on his own because of his speed and skill. Rope's up there. I would put Wyatt. Maybe Matt Duchene would be there, and somewhat Miro, because of their ability to skate and be elusive and get their wicked shot away at the same time. And that's why I think he's a top 5 player. 4 or 5, I would put Pavelski or Robertson right now. Of course, Robo hasn't get off to the scoring start, but I mean, he's still been very productive, 9 points. And Pav, I mean, he never slows down. He has 11 points and 5 goals. I'd put somewhere Pav or Robo into that conversation as a top 5 player on the Dallas Stars right now. Go ahead and drop your rankings too. Let me know your feedback and your overreactions or reality to these 3 statements. Maybe some other statements that you feel like maybe you've overreacted to already a month in the season. I would love to hear your thoughts on some of those as well. So appreciate you for indulging me, because we are a month into the season. We get a little off day here. And I want to see if maybe I'm overreacting to some things. Maybe some things are just reality with this club that we just need to chew on and be comfortable with going forward, so you don't have to hear me harp on them all year long, okay? Slow starts, they're a problem. That may be just a reality. I probably should have added that one. Well, that will wrap up that segment. Okay, let's talk about Logan Stankoven and Mavrik Bourque. They are killing it in the American Hockey League. The Texas Stars off to a good start as well. Let's do an update on those 2 hot Dallas Stars prospects that eventually will get called up to the big leagues at some point during this season. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by eBay Motors. eBay Motors has passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, And as always, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Wyatt Johnston could score 50 goals. The Dallas Stars could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number 1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. And Stars fans, you've heard me talk about it. Sleeper is awesome. You can play daily fantasy hockey every day. And not only just that, you can play the NBA, college football, and NFL, any sport you want. You can play with your friends. You can talk with them. You can chat, connect with other fans. And it's very, very easy to do. All you have to do is pick studs. Let's talk about the NFL. You could pick CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, over under on certain stats. And of course, with the Dallas Stars, you can pick Robertson or Sagan or Duchene. Pick over or under on certain stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, or anything in a given game, and you can win 100 times your bet on Sleeper. You need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me. You can win 100 times your money as well playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and location availability. Here we go. Let's jump into some Logan Stankoven and Mavrik Bourque talk on Locked On Stars. Be sure to check yesterday's episode out. Broke down the Stars 3-2 loss to the Boston Bruins. And of course, be on the lookout for tomorrow. We'll preview the matchup with the Columbus Blue Jackets as the Stars get back on the road. Well, Logan Stankoven and Mavrik Bourque turned a lot of heads in training camp. Many of you are wondering why they could not be called up with the Duchesne and Fox injury. Saad Youssef put out a great article too. I recommend that, but I'll give you the lowdown. It's the cap. The Stars do not have enough cap space with 18 fully healthy skaters too. They're restricted. They can't even use the emergency call up either. So Stankoven and Bourque are forced to stay down. But I would love to highlight them because they've been phenomenal so far in what they've done. And of course, I was a proponent of having Stankoven start in the AHL, let him get a taste of professional hockey. And he's been just fine to say the least. And I would love to highlight an article as well. This was by Stefan Meserve, and he's part of the AHL. And he actually did a little profile on Stankoven about his start and kind of his philosophy, which is really good. I really recommend it. You can find it on the AHL website. But Stankoven had a quote in the article. It said, it'd be nice to be called up to Dallas, but there's no rush to get to that level. Being able to learn how the pro game is played down here and not rushing yourself to the next level is important because you want to be fully prepared when you go out there. When my time is ready, I'll be ready. So wonderful to hear that from Stankoven. Pete DeBoer already mentioned it during training camp that he is NHL ready. And at this point, the Stars have a lot of NHL ready forwards up front. I think he'll be called up towards the end of the year at some point. He's going to play probably more than half of the year in the AHL just due to the fact that the Stars have so many bodies and they're still trying to figure out how their kind of offense connects, their lines, and all that good stuff. We'll see if he ever gets the call up. But right now, that's good to hear that he's relishing in the fact that he can learn in the AHL, be good. Texas Stars are successful, and do not underestimate how great of an impact it is to have a team in the AHL that is successful, cultivate winning, and has a good culture as well. And he's popped off so far. He leads all AHL rookies in points. He has 13 so far, also has 6 goals. His shooting percentage is a whopping 27%, miles ahead of anybody else. And just for reference, the average in the AHL shooting percentage is usually somewhere about like 10%. So he's lighting the lamp, so to speak. And he's been playing wonderful, and he's inseparable with Mavrik Bourque as well, who's been off to a phenomenal start. Of course, he played a year ago. He has 13 points, 5 goals, and 8 assists. Their line with Bourque, Stankoven, and Blumel, which we saw a little bit during the Stars preseason, has been just full bore so far down in Cedar Park. So both of those guys are flourishing, and this is just great news. So these guys are going to be ready to go at some point, and they're going to be plug and play guys. Look, the Stars could have a flurry of injuries, and of course, I'm knocking on wood. Do not want that to happen, but it's always good to have a stockpile down in the AHL that you can bring guys up and can jump in and play at a high level. And they look good as advertised right now, which is a really good sign. It's also kind of interesting to think about that maybe these guys will just be inseparable because they've been playing down there and tearing it up. Maybe this is a situation where you bring these guys up and play them together. maybe you never separate them, which would be interesting. And you could almost toss them on the fourth line, so to speak, and you may have some offensive firepower. So Stankoven and Bourque are as good as advertised, as we pretty much already have seen in the Stars preseason. I'm not really breaking news there, but the Texas Stars are off to a pretty good start in the Central Division as well. They are currently second. They have accumulated 10 points so far on their young season, 4-3-2. And they've scored 29 goals so far. So, of course, Stankoven and Bourque are a big part of that. Big shout out to Liam Bixel as well. He was another guy that I'm pretty high on, and at some point is going to be kind of the replacement for Hakanpää, of course, whose contract is up at the end of the year. And I think Bixel's going to step in and do a great job. He is Hakanpää with a higher offensive upside. I believe he has 5 points so far in his first 11 games. Big guy, has the oomph, can bring that physicality that the Stars desperately need, but also is a little more offensively inclined, which in today's NHL is huge. And I think Bixel can bring some of that. So good news from the Texas Stars. I wanted to highlight a few of them because, of course, they're on the top of everybody's mind with some of the injuries the Stars are going through. Unfortunately, cap space is a thing. So the Stars are a little bit reined in on that front. But not a bad thing for them to be flourished.
Your Locked On Stars
During the year. No worries about that, of course. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Ty Dellandrea. He's been flip-flopping in and out of the lineup with Sam Steele. Here's the reason why I believe Ty Dellandrea needs to be an everyday player on the Dallas Stars. Let's do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options. Get this, Stars fans. You're ready on a Sunday. Stars are not playing. You can't wait to sit on the couch for 8 hours and watch some National Football League action. The Cowboys are playing the America's Game of the Week, as they usually are, because they're a fantastic brand, and they are going to play primetime more often than not. And you're thinking, I could use some money today. I want to win some money. Go ahead and get FanDuel and bet on football, baby. You got spreads, player props, over-unders. There are a ton of options, and you can win money while watching football. It's easy. Plop yourself on the couch, on the phone, and boom, you're winning money. You're having a good time, and you don't even have to just play the NFL. You can bet on the Dallas Stars. I mean, you can watch the NHL if you want to plop down. If we do another Frozen Frenzy, you can watch all the action in the NHL and win some money in the process. So go ahead, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Alrighty, let's do this here on Locked On Stars. Be sure to follow me on the old Twitter, the X thing at Joey the Jet 19. Go ahead and subscribe, free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Stars back in action tomorrow, taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets as they hit the road once again. And as I mentioned, I think a very good month schedule here, or at least the rest of the way. They have some very formidable opponents. They take on Colorado. They got Vegas. They play Calgary a couple times. They also have New York. So some winnable games and some really tough contests as well. They play Winnipeg too, which has been off to a really good start too. So we'll see how they fare in the month of November. I wanted to talk about Ty Dellandrea a bit. Since Dellandrea has played in 9 games so far, he's been kind of flip-flopping with Sam Steele on that fourth line. He played on Monday and actually probably played his best game of the year against Boston. And I think it's important that Ty Dellandrea is an everyday player on the Dallas Stars. He's only 23 years old. I honestly was shocked when I saw that because he's just been around. And maybe that's my bad, and maybe everybody else knew that. But he's 23. He's not even in his prime yet. He's getting better and better every year. He needs to play every single day. He brings a more offensively or a more offensive mindset than Sam Steele does, than Radek Faksa. And he can be a great utility guy. He can win some faceoffs. He's not been great in that department. But more importantly, he brings a physical edge. He wins a lot of board battles. He gets in on the forecheck hard, which the Stars have not been great at off the hop. I think he's great in that department. He creates turnovers, and he puts the puck on net. If he has it on his stick, it's going towards the cage. And I think the Stars need a little bit more element of that. And I compared the two players, especially with him and Steele, just to take a look, some of the numbers and the analytics, because the eye test tells me that Dellandrea is better than Sam Steele. That's just the eye test. And Dellandrea is a bit better than a fourth line role. I think that's probably the best role for him at the NHL level. Maybe he's a fringe top six forward if he continues to develop and has a bit more of a scoring touch, because it's not at an elite level yet. It's not Wyatt Johnston, okay? I'm not saying that. But as a fourth liner, I think he can be so extremely productive. And we're talking about a guy that has a higher ceiling than a fourth liner, but especially at 5-on-5, the numbers heavily favor Ty Dellandrea. In the Corsi for percentage, above 10 points. Scoring chances, he's more than 11 scoring chances. High danger, he's almost doubled up Sam Steele at 5-on-5. Dellandrea has created a lot more offense in his first 9 games of the season, and the numbers back that up. He's a great penalty killer, too. He has been great in the faceoff department, and I know DeBoer wants to work Sam Steele in and keep him fresh. He's very valuable, too. I get that, but Dellandrea is probably a part of your core going forward. He's going to be cheap for you, especially after the Marchment deal that has not looked good so far. Dellandrea is kind of going to be a part of this young core, and he's going to be around for a while. What it feels like and seems like, because I think they really like him in the organization. He needs to play every day and give him a chance to jump up on some of these lines with Sagan right now and Marchment, with Duchesne out and Faksa. And of course, they've given him some of that leverage. And we saw last year he played a little bit with Ben and Johnston, but I think he can be some of that kind of multi-tool guy. Of course, you want to keep the lines consistent and have some rhythm with everybody. But if Dellandrea is in and out of the lineup, I don't think that's good for his development. And he's very, very young. I think if Dellandrea plays every day, the Stars will be better off. I really like his game. He just brings an edge. And I would love to see him start playing every single day. And look, he's almost there, but he's been kind of in and out of the lineup. And they've been forced to play him, of course, with the injuries. They've have to. They're down 2 center icemen. But when they're fully healthy, I would love to see Dellandrea in with Smith, because Smith is a similar type player, and Radek Faksa or Sam Steele that way. If anybody maybe needs to be scratched, which I know may be controversial, is Radek Faksa, because he does not bring an offensive element. I still think he's valuable. Look, I said at the top, but Radek Faksa is valuable. But I would love to see Ty Dellandrea be playing every single day. So that's kind of my dilemma, because he's only 23, man. And I don't think he's reached his ceiling yet. He's not even into his prime, and he's been a good player. 28 points last season. I would love to see that bump up a bit. And if he can do that, the Stars are going to have a really, really good offense. And hopefully Ty Dellandrea can be a big contributor of that, especially on the bottom 6. Okay, That is it for today on Locked On Stars. An off day this November 8th. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you're enjoying your week so far. Stars hockey returns tomorrow night against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'll be there with your reaction and breaking it down as well tomorrow and after on Friday night on Locked On Stars. Be sure to subscribe, free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. For now, enjoy a wonderful Wednesday, and we will see you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.